Hey guys, today we are talking about a Mr. Joshua Bidell, or Beetle. I'm actually not sure how to pronounce that. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Beetle. That is what I'm here doing to you today, correcting your wrongs, and I'm happy to for that to be reciprocated. You know, I love new information, and to utilize that new information going forward in my life. So if it's not Beetle, please tell me. I will adjust. This is his course presented at TheosU, which is a university. And his class is called Introduction to the Cult of Mormonism. Now, I got a problem with the whole cult thing, right? But if you want to teach a class on Mormonism, whatever. My beef with you today is the fact that you are, to my knowledge, because this is a 20-minute portion of the full hour course. It's called a course, and it's not all available to, the public. You have to sign up. You got to do these things. So I am just going to assume that you are charging people for it. And again, if I'm wrong, let me know, and I will adjust accordingly. But with the knowledge that I have, people are charging. You are charging. People are paying for this. Now, because of that, there are things that you need to know and things you need to adjust, because it is unethical to present a course at a university, something that people trust as a beacon of knowledge and truth and facts, and to be wrong. You should not be peddling misinformation for money. That's not right. And this is a seemingly Christian institution. So morally, I believe you would be operating in an upright way, because why wouldn't you? Oh, I try to assume the best from all people. And so I'm letting you know so you can address it, rewrite your curriculum a little bit, make a few little notes here and there. And that's it. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And just so you guys know how important this is to me, I brought a notebook. I got my notes in here, my little dinosaur notebook. So this matters to me. It's a thing. This man's video, of course, is rife with inaccuracies. And I'm not one to nitpick. I'm really not. But like I said, if you're charging for it, we got to address it. There are also a few things that I think I'm getting a little petty about. I've seen this so many times. I've seen this like 12 times now. I've watched this video because I'm just like, oh, the heck, guy. So I think I'm getting to the the point where I'm just like, I'm a little petty about it. So a few points are just to get it out of my system. And I'm going to do little timestamps. So I'll link the original video in my description. So if you want to go and watch the whole thing, just to make sure I'm not taking things out of context or nitpicking or whatever, it's going to be right there. So I'm not going to watch the entire thing on here because I just can't. I can't do it again.
I can't take any more. I can't do this.
So if you want to, go for it. Whatever, it's fine. Do your thing. But Mr. Beetle, we are going to start at about 5 minutes. This is a point of pettiness for me, just so you know.
How does it relate to you? What's your role and responsibility in dealing with these Christian cults? How should you deal with these heresies of these Christian cults? Do you deal with them harshly, or do you deal with them graciously? Who's our audience for this hot topic? You, the Theos subscriber. I'm going to approach this in a way that is orthodox and thorough, and I might crack some jokes at Mormons, but I do have some respect for them. But this isn't something that you would show to a Mormon, perhaps. I'd be a little more tactful. So just...
Okay, one. He said right there, you guys heard him, he said it was going to be thorough. Thorough means you've done your research, you've done your homework, you've compiled all needed information, you have checked for inaccuracies, you have written more than one draft. At least that's normally what thorough means. You heard him say it. And you wouldn't show this to a Mormon. Why? If it's just a class about Mormonism, why wouldn't we watch it? It's just information, right? About us and about our beliefs. And yeah, you might disagree with those beliefs, sure. And so you can talk about why you disagree with them, but the belief itself and the facts of that you're pulling from the Book of Mormon will be true, right? So why would it matter if we watch it or not? I don't understand that. It's a petty point.
Mormonism. So this hot topic is a long time coming. Some quintessential overarching questions regarding this hot topic on Mormonism is this: how do you know truth? This is in the realm of epistemology, right? How do you know what truth is and how do you ascertain it? Who decides what's authoritative? What is a cult? So I'm gonna use that term Christian cult, which I'll define here later. But what is a cult? Now, let's define terms. Quick joke: Frank Zappa, the hippie pop culture guy, about a couple decades ago, said the only difference between a cult and a religion is how much real estate they own. Cults don't own that much real estate. Religions, especially Catholic Church, they own a lot of real estate. So sometimes that's a differentiating factor. But is it religion or cult? How much real estate do you own? Other overarching questions: what is considered a Christian cult?
That's my petty point. I'm sorry. And this is going to factor in later, but again, you are getting paid. You could just Google how to pronounce overarching. Google's free. They have a video for literally every word on how to pronounce it. They also have it in the dictionary. If you open up your good old Webster's dictionary, it breaks it down for you, syllable by syllable, how to pronounce overarching. If I seem tired, it's because this man tires me. I am worn out.
Christian cult too, before we jump in. A Christian cult is a group that claims to be Christian, but promulgate doctrines and beliefs that contradict the Bible or essential Christian articles of faith and doctrines. So that's the kind of term we're going to utilize these Christian cults.
Slow down, buddy. Okay. Christian cult. So if you look up the definition of Christian cult, it is going to not pop up because there is not a agreed upon definition for it. It's not a thing yet. So they made it up, which is fine because you can kind of put things together. And we do this kind of thing, right? Language is always evolving. So, you're like, a Christian means this, cult means this. Okay, let's pop them together. Okay, sure. A group that claims to be Christian, but promulgate doctrines and beliefs that contradict the Bible. Okay. For one, our beliefs don't contradict the Bible. I don't know if you've read the Bible, Old Testament or New Testament. The things that we believe do not contradict that. So, kind of lost a point there. Sorry. And essential Christian articles of faith or doctrine. Okay. He doesn't say, I'm going to assume he's talking about the creeds, and that if we disagree with the creeds, if we're not creedal Christians, we are not Christians at all. Creeds aren't in the Bible, guys. It's not. There are no rules that say you have to believe in the creeds to be a Christian. I'm sorry. We believe in the Jesus of the Bible, the Old Testament, the New Testament. You can't just say that we're not Christian because we disagree with that. It's just the creeds, bro. I mean, relax. Jesus is still Jesus, so whatever. All right. This one, this one's just funny to me because, again, this is a paid-for course, right? This man is being paid money for this course. Also, okay, side note, right here, he talks about the original. He talks about the Christian cults. What you do is you reject the Bible. You redefine all of these things, right? And then it's a counterfeit faith. Die a heresy. Goodness gracious, I feel like I'm watching Footloose. You're redefining things with the creeds. So, and you choosing to say you are not, I'm not, whatever, okay? God is undefinable, right? And we like to try and put him in a little box and say, you know what, this is what I understand of the world, so this is what I understand that you can do, and nothing goes beyond that. Okay. That's not how God works. And the fact that you say, this is how it is, these are the creeds, this is exactly how it is, I know for a fact, and you need to believe this to be a Christian, when we don't know, I'm not going to walk up to a Catholic and say, hey buddy, you believe in the creeds, so you're not a Christian. Because I don't believe in the creeds, but I am humble enough to realize that I could be wrong. I don't think I'm wrong, but I'm leaving it open because if I get up there and God says to me, He says, hey, guess what? Creeds are a thing. I'm going to be like, dude, my bad. Okay. That's it. Like, I'm not going to do any of the things that he suggests later in this video if somebody believes in the creed. But you're redefining things to suit your fancy, and so I kind of feel like you called yourself out. I don't know. I don't know your religion of choice. I assume Protestantism. But I think you might be in a cult, man. And I feel bad to be the one to tell you, but whew, surprise. Happy birthday. You're in a cult. How do you like it? All right, we're gonna pop ahead. This one was just funny to me. Because as you know, he said we're not Christian, so I must have missed it. There's a part where he just straight up says that Mormons aren't Christians. He said Mormons can't be Christians because of their doctrinal beliefs. And then he goes on to say that some can be Christian, but most of them are not, which is wild because if it's a doctrinal thing, all of us can't be Christian by your definition. So you can't like pick and choose with that one. You got to have that consistency there. You know, you have to decide either we are or we're not because we believe in the same doctrinal thing, all of us across the board. So that's kind of how it works, right, with religion. And so he makes a point to say that, and that's why this is funny.
It is the fastest growing religion in the world. Take a look at this map here. This is Christianity in the United States. Just by county, it's a distribution of Catholicism, Protestantism, and Mormonism. You'll see the huge dominance of Protestants in the South. Everywhere the Southern Baptist Convention is really present. But also all throughout California, we have a lot of Catholics there. In the Northeast with Catholics. Boston, especially with Irish population. We see there
Christianity in the U.S. by county. And he lists 3 Christian denominations. Catholicism, Protestantism, gosh, that is a hard word to say, Protestantism, and Mormonism. But he didn't even spell it right. It says Mormonism in the top. Whatever, it's fine. We do have spell check, but it's okay. Why would you say to your students who have paid hard-earned money for your course, why would you tell them that we are not Christian and then present them with a graph that says we are Christian? Where is your consistency, brother? I do not understand. I am going insane. We're gonna skip ahead. 8 something.
in Salt Lake City.
Oh, yeah, this part's
Don't knock it till you try it. You know what I mean? Especially I took advantage of the huge for the top Mormon leaders to not use the term Mormon or Mormonism. They've used that term a lot in the last 100, 200 years. But they're moving more towards calling themselves the Latter-day Saints. And they've done that attempt before, but usually people revert back to calling them Mormonism. So I'm going to use those terms interchangeably, just so you know. Now, personally speaking, I know a lot of Mormons. I have some good Mormon friends. I have a lot of experience with Mormons. I had them as colleagues and I worked with parents. A lot of my students at my schools I taught at were Mormons. I became a Mormon for a short season, actually. It was incredible. Don't knock it till you try it. You know what I mean? Especially I took advantage of the polygamy doctrine. I was like, hey, if I'm Mormon, I might as well take full advantage, right? Kidding on that. But when I worked with some Mormons and rubbed shoulders with them, conversation with them, and respectful arguments with them too, I got an inside scoop too about how they function and operate. And also too, a high Mormon leader I was very close with. He kind of took me to some sites, flew me out to Salt Lake City actually, tried to convert me to be a Mormon, good guy, and showed me some of the behind the scenes areas in Salt Lake City, which is like the religious capital there. And so, yeah, all that to be said is I don't just have a knowledgeable association with Mormons, but I have a very experienced high association with Mormons as well.
Isn't that crazy? He became a Mormon for a season. He became a Mormon, which means you've read the Book of Mormon, right? You've done that. Okay.
Why does that help? It helps humanize these Christian cults, right? It is easy to put them as a distance from arm's length and say, well, these guys are off, they're crazy, they're demonic, they're psycho, they're corrupting the faith, which is true in some measures. But also too, when you know
you have friends that you respect that are Mormons, then you just said they're demonic and psycho. Okay, do you understand what a friend is? Maybe you're confused about that definition? Maybe. This part, it's not inaccurate, I just have beef with it too.
the background of Mormonism, and they're going to break down the Mormon faith with their major beliefs. And they're going to get into the Bible and witness church history, and then how to interact with Mormons in your day-to-day life, and then some conclusions.
You are being paid. You are being paid. People are paying you to learn how to interact with Mormons that are humans, human beings.
I'm a human being.
You don't need to pay somebody for that. Have you tried walking outside and saying hi? You don't need a class on this. Maybe if you're like a robot, sure, then yeah, pay for it because you're going to need some help. But you don't need a course on how to interact with Mormons. They are people. Just interact with them. Okay, we're going to skip ahead because this is just a little intro thing. So, like here.
Looking, and according to his words, the Father and Jesus told him Catholic, Orthodox, and Protestant are all wrong. They're the wrong faiths. They've been apostatized since the beginning of the early church. We're going to give you the right Christian faith. So starting right off the bat, that message saying that all current denominations, all Christians, all church history is corrupt and wrong, that's pretty crazy, right? Huge.
So it's not that it's corrupt and wrong. I mean, there's corruption, sure. I mean, I love Catholics. Like I said, I was raised a Catholic. But the Vatican is a little insane. I mean, yeah, there's corruption, but the point is that the other ones were lacking information. So there's a lot of knowledge to be had everywhere. I think there's knowledge that we can pull from every Christian denomination, you know. God works in all places, in all spaces. But there was information that needed to be restored and brought back to the forefront, right? So that's what it is. It's a restoration. It's not a rewriting. It's not a redefining. It's restoration. So that's just that matters. That does matter because we're not going, oh, you're all wrong and you're all dumb. None of you know Jesus. None of you know how Heavenly Father works. You don't know any of these things. No. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying, hey, there's some stuff missing. Here you go. On to the inaccuracies.
Joseph Smith had another divine visitation, this time from the angel named Moroni. Now, who's Moroni? Very important figure here. Moroni sounds like an Italian dish, right? It sounds like you're ordering at an Italian restaurant.
This man was a Mormon for a season. He read the Book of Mormon. He wrote a class on Mormons. He's getting paid for his class on Mormons. And he calls him Moroni. I could have let overarching go. I really could have. But the fact that you said it and Moroni. Problem. Issue.
Yes, I'll have some ravioli, some antipasta, and I'll take some Moroni. Yeah, does that come with Alfredo sauce? Let's do that. Moroni's not an Italian dish. Sounds like a tasty one. Moroni was an angel, and Moroni was, according to Joseph Smith, and the angel that supposedly talked to him, a descendant of the Jews and the diaspora, the 12 tribes of Israel, a descendant, who escaped to America 600 years before Jesus arrived. Okay, so this is hundreds of years before the birth of Christ. Who's Mormon? Mormon is the uncle of Moroni. So Moroni's talking.
Okay. Mormon is not the uncle of Moroni. Nobody is the uncle of Moroni. Mormon is his dad. Okay. Moroni. I almost can't not say it at this point. It's kind of drilled into my head. Moroni did not escape, come to the Americas, didn't do that. That was Nephi, who, yeah, you're right. That was like 600 years before Christ. That was Nephi and his family and Lehi and all the boys. And that was them. So Moroni, it's slipping, man. Moroni comes about 400 years after the death of Christ. So this is a good 1,000-year difference between the two. I gotta find my there's 1,000 years. So get your information straight, okay? Disagree with doctrine all you want, but at least know what you're disagreeing with, okay? Just
Talking to Joseph Smith, right? Second visitation. And Moroni's uncle's Mormon. Mormon is the ancient Naphtali prophet who compiled the book.
What is a Naphtali prophet? That sounds like something from The Mummy starring Brendan Fraser. There's no Naphtali prophets in the Book of Mormon. Okay.
Book of Mormon, which Joseph Smith will translate here very shortly, okay? The Book of Mormon, from the Naphtali prophet Mormon, is where they get that moniker, Mormons. What does Moroni do besides saying, hey, I'm the nephew of Mormon, blah, blah, blah? Moroni tells Joseph Smith at the age of 17, hey, I have these golden tablets, these golden plates. I buried them somewhere, and I want you to translate them, which is going to be the Book of Mormon that his uncle wrote, Moroni. But you're not ready for it yet, Joseph Smith. I'm just giving you a heads up. So, 4 years after that, second presentation, 1827, Joseph Smith is allowed to retrieve those golden plates, okay? He translates them in the Book of Mormon. Now, here's how he did that. He stuck his head in a bag with those golden plates that were buried somewhere in New York, and he had a talisman in there, which is like a seer stone, like to decipher it. So the stone's in there, plus the golden tablet. He would stick his head out years before the birth of Christ. Who's Mormon? Mormon is the uncle of Moroni. So Moroni's talking to Joseph Smith, right? Second visitation, and Moroni's uncle's Mormon. Mormon is the ancient Naphtali prophet who compiled the Book of Mormon, which Joseph Smith will translate here very shortly, okay? The Book of Mormon from the Naphtali prophet Mormon is where they get that moniker, Mormons. What does Moroni do besides saying, hey, I'm the nephew of Mormon?
What does he do besides, hey, I'm the nephew of Mormon? And then you continue to tell me what he does. You don't even know what he does because he doesn't even say that. He doesn't even say, hey, I'm the nephew of Mormon. That never happens. So how are you going to give me accurate information going forward if you can't even get the basics right? Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying... How are you supposed to do that? I don't understand. Okay, He didn't even say that. Okay. I will calm down. We are going to skip ahead because I'm getting ramped up here. Okay, we're going to go to like 15 something. There we go. That's it.
Already married. Joseph Smith was eventually arrested for treason, bank fraud, polygamy, was a mayor. He tried to actually run for U.S. president, which a lot of people don't know about. And he had tons of the influence of the Freemason cult. He was killed at 35 years old in a prison riot in Illinois.
Okay. So this man just told me he was killed at 35 years old in a prison riot in Illinois. All right. Not 35, but that's okay. If you get the age wrong, that's not a huge deal, right? But the fact is, you told me with confidence just now that he was 35. He also was not killed in a prison riot. He was killed by a mob in prison. We all know what a prison riot is. It wasn't a prison riot. There was no prisoners rioting and chaos ensuing. That's not what happened. He was just hanging out, being arrested, and he got shot. So.
Joseph Smith was an inspired syncretist, and he fabricated a few different types of cult religions into the Mormon religion. According to Joseph Smith, also, in addition to the angel Moroni visiting him and God the Father and Jesus, he claims to have been visited by these other individuals: John the Baptist, Moses, Peter, James, and John. Here's a later picture of Joseph Smith, of what he actually looked like as a younger man there. The picture you see after that is him being shot. He was arrested for destroying his newspaper press. For a long story short, I can't really get into it, but he was arrested.
Why can't you get into it? Talk about him being arrested. You said he was arrested for polygamy and fraud and all. Just tell me about that one then. Get into it, man.
And he was jumping out of a window and got shot by this mob, taking over this jail cell. Mormons believe he was martyred. I would say he was, I won't say justly killed. It could have been considered a murder, but that's how God took him out, in my opinion. Because of...
Could be considered murder? What? If you take someone's life, is there a thing that makes it not murder to you? And my beef with that is not that that information is inaccurate. It's that you are saying that a human being was justly murdered. You are a man in a position of power. You are an authoritative figure, right? You're a professor, you're a teacher. People are paying you for information to be taught. And you are telling these students that a man was justly murdered for having beliefs different than theirs. That's unethical, it's immoral, and that is a problem all on its own.
Persecution. As he's taking this Book of Mormon and saying, hey, look, I'm the last prophet. I'm here to give you the right faith. Every other religion and Christian faith is wrong. People started being attracted to him, following him. They got persecuted. So as he's living in New York, he actually goes to Ohio. Then Joseph Smith goes to Missouri. Then Illinois. And then eventually they go to Utah. But all these places, almost every place he goes, he's spreading his heretical faith and he's spreading his new religion. Almost every place that he lands at, he deems as this is the final place. This is where Jesus will return to this actual spot, the new heavens, new earth, in this spot. Well, he had about 4 or 5 of those different proclamations. The Mormons keep getting persecuted, and keep moving further and further west. This is during the frontier days, right, of the mid-19th century. After Joseph Smith is killed, I think he was, I don't have my notes, I want to say like late 30s, 38, 39, he was eventually killed.
I don't have my notes. What are those things right next to you that you've been rifling through? I saw you flipping through it. You just told me, sir, that he was 35 when he was killed. How do you not know now? Late 30s, 40 maybe? He was like 38, okay? And if you had said from the get-go, like, I don't know, late 30s, okay. But you told me with confidence that he was 35. And then you told me that you don't have your notes, so you don't know. Did you write this? Okay? Are you informed on the subject that you are teaching? Because I feel like if you were, you would at least consistently know how old the main person that you're talking about is. You've referenced Joseph Smith quite a few times now, and you don't know how old that he was, even though you told me you knew how old he was. You are inconsistent, and it's frustrating, and you need to stop.
Early 40s, but very young. Brigham Young takes over for Joseph Smith. This is where the Brigham Young University comes from. It's from Brigham Young. Steve Young, who I showed you that picture earlier, the famous 49ers Super Bowl winning quarterback, Hall of Fame player. He's a direct descendant of Brigham Young. Brigham Young treks with the Mormons as pilgrims all the way out to Utah to find their own land because they keep getting persecuted, rightfully so in many ways, because they're having this...
Rightfully so. Persecuted, rightfully so. Again, you are a man in a position of power being paid for knowledge. You live in the United States of America, where the whole point of the United States of America was to escape religious persecution. And I feel like you have led a very comfortable life, sir, and I am happy for you. I am. I think that's great. I don't want harm for anybody. I don't want hardship for anybody. I don't. For you to confidently say that they were persecuted, rightfully so, for their religious beliefs in America is outrageous. It is outrageous. And I think some people, not you, I know you, not you, some people think of persecution in this day and age, right? Where if we're being persecuted, people are like, I don't really want my kids hanging out with your kids because you're a Mormon, and I don't really agree with that. Okay, maybe, yeah, and that sucks, right? But you can get through it. Or you don't want to have Mormons in your sports program. I've seen that happen a few times. You don't want them in your classes or whatever. Yeah, and it's sad, but that's a lot of the persecution in 2026, and the persecution that he's referring to that is justly so happening, rightfully so is what he said, sorry, was an extermination order by like a governor telling people to wipe out the Mormons. That's the persecution that he is saying was good.
Today, about 50% of people in Utah consider themselves Mormons, and there's also a term called a Jack Mormon. It's the Mormons that have fallen away from the faith. Now, Brigham Young himself was a piece of work as well. He was married, get this, 56.
I do agree with that. I do agree that he was a piece of work.
Times to 56 different women, and he had 57 children with those 56 women. The man was busy. Let's put it that way. Here's a map of those persecutional episodes and instances and times the Mormons had to keep moving out west. You'll see New York there.
That's basically it up until this point. So basically, at the very least, I feel like this person, school, entity, whoever's in charge, needs to take this video down. It's not even because I'm like, oh, I'm mad that you called Mormonism a cult, no. I mean, I would say something about that, but that's not even the point here. The point here is I think it's embarrassing for your university. I assume it's a misrepresentation of the legitimacy of your university. I hope it is. If it's not, then that's a whole other thing that we should talk about. It's embarrassing that you choose to represent it in this way. You should take down your video and rewrite your curriculum and provide accurate information for people who are paying you money. And I haven't seen enough of TheosU videos to claim that this university is a scam. So I'm not going to say that. I'm absolutely not in any way implying that you guys are running a scam, okay? But if you're going to charge money for this course in particular, you need to actually do some thorough research, okay? And you need to rewrite your curriculum. Or you need to give these people their money back, offer it as a free course, And make sure you put a note in there that some information may be wrong, misrepresented. Okay? And I know too that fellow Latter-day Saints have reached out to these people too and let them know that they got some stuff wrong. Maybe it was just their social media person, their PR dude, but they said that they didn't care. And that's your university. You're a beacon of knowledge. That's what you're choosing to be. In doing so, it comes with responsibilities, and you need to do better. This is embarrassing for you. So, just food for thought, you know. And like I said, Mr. Beetle, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong about the name thing.